Imagine standing beside someone who will never breathe again. The body is still, but everyone else remains. Someone kneels beside the body. Someone else begins digging. Nobody has explained why, yet everyone seems to understand. Strange behavior is incredibly old. Much older than cities. Much older than writing. Much older than recorded history. Humans did something unusual with death. We stopped simply leaving bodies behind. We moved them. We covered them. We remembered them. Sometimes, we decorated them. Sometimes, we returned to them. And eventually, we built entire rituals around them. Why? Why spend precious energy on someone who cannot return? Why dig a hole for someone already gone? The answer is more complicated than grief. It reaches deep into human evolution. Reaches into cooperation. It reaches into memory, and perhaps, into our understanding of ourselves. One of the oldest clues comes from Israel. The site is called Qafzeh Cave. Researchers found remains of ancient Homo sapiens there. Some were around 100,000 years old. The date is astonishing. Civilization did not exist yet. Writing did not exist yet. Farming did not exist yet. But intentional burial may already have existed. The Smithsonian describes Qafzeh as an early intentional burial site. Researchers found remains belonging to multiple individuals. They also found red ochre near several remains. Ochre is a naturally occurring colored mineral. Its presence raises another possibility. The dead may have been treated deliberately. Someone may have done more than simply move a body. Someone may have marked the moment. Someone may have cared where it ended. Think about what that requires. Someone must notice the death. Someone must understand the body has changed. Someone must decide what happens next. Someone must coordinate with others. And someone must remember. That last part matters enormously. Funerals are not only about dead bodies, they are also about living people. The living suddenly face an absence. Someone who ate with them disappears. Someone who hunted beside them disappears. Someone who protected children disappears. The group has changed. Yet the group must continue. This creates a strange human problem. How do you continue after losing someone? You cannot bring them back, but you can create actions around their absence. You can gather. You can cry. You can speak. You can sing. You can bury. You can remember. Those actions do something important. They turn chaos into sequence. Death becomes an event becomes a story, and the story becomes memory. Anthropologist Robert Hertz noticed this pattern. In 1907, Hertz studied death rituals comparatively. He argued that death affects social groups. Dead person disappears physically, but their social identity does not disappear instantly. Families still exist. Relationships still exist. Responsibilities still exist. Inheritance may still matter. Memory certainly matters. A funeral helps manage that transition. It tells people something has changed. It also tells them what happens next. This may explain why funerals appear so widely. Different cultures use radically different rituals. Some bury. Some cremate. Some expose bodies. Some build monuments. Some preserve remains. Some hold elaborate ceremonies. The details change dramatically. But the underlying problem remains. A person has died. The community must respond. That response can become incredibly elaborate. Ancient Egypt took this to extraordinary levels. Egyptians developed complex funerary traditions. They preserved bodies through mummification. They built tombs. They placed objects beside the dead. They created texts for the afterlife. Death became connected to cosmic order. But Egypt did not invent funerals. Egypt inherited a much older human tendency. The same pattern appears thousands of years earlier. At Shanidar Cave in Iraqi Kurdistan, Neanderthal remains were discovered. Archaeologist Ralph Selecki excavated the cave decades ago. Several Neanderthals were found there. Some appeared to have been intentionally buried. That matters because Neanderthals were not modern humans. They were close human relatives. They disappeared roughly 40,000 years ago. Yet they may have deliberately placed their dead underground. In 2020, Emma Pomeroy and colleagues reported new evidence. Their work examined another Neanderthal at Shanidar. The remains appeared intentionally buried. The famous flower burial story remains controversial. Pollen around earlier remains once suggested flowers. Later researchers questioned that interpretation. Burrowing animals may have moved the pollen. But intentional burial itself remains important. Neanderthals may have repeatedly returned to the cave. They may have placed bodies deliberately. They may have remembered specific individuals. That possibility changes the story. Funerals may not belong exclusively to Homo sapiens. The behavior may be older than our species. Perhaps grief is ancient. Perhaps care is ancient. Perhaps memory is ancient. Maybe ritual began before civilization. Maybe civilization simply amplified it. There is another clue. Burial requires effort. Digging takes time. Carrying a body takes energy. Moving stones takes even more effort. None of that produces food. None of it immediately improves shelter. None of it creates a weapon. Yet humans repeatedly do it. That suggests funerals provide another kind of value. They provide social value. They reinforce relationships. They establish obligations. They preserve identity. They give people something to do. And doing something matters during chaos. Imagine a prehistoric camp after a death. The normal routine suddenly stops. People gather around one absence. Nobody knows what tomorrow should look like. A ritual supplies instructions. Stand here. Carry this. Say this. Place that. Wait. Return home. The ritual gives structure to uncertainty. And uncertainty is something human brains hate. We constantly search for patterns. We create explanations. We construct narratives. Death creates the biggest unanswered question. Where did that person go? Why did they disappear? Could they return? What happens to us next? Different societies answer differently. But almost every society answers somehow. This is where funerals become more than disposal. They become meaning-making machines. A funeral can explain death. It can explain responsibility. It can explain identity. It can explain what the community believes. And it can explain who belongs. Funerals can even reinforce social hierarchy. A powerful person's funeral may become enormous. A ruler may receive a monument. A warrior may receive weapons. A wealthy person may receive elaborate objects. An ordinary person may receive something simpler. The grave can become a social document. It tells future people who mattered. Or at least, who was treated as important. Archaeologists read these differences carefully. Burials can reveal inequality. They can reveal migration. They can reveal family relationships. They can reveal beliefs. Sometimes they reveal violence. Sometimes they reveal care. Sometimes they reveal something more unsettling. They reveal how people imagine death. And that brings us back to ourselves. Why do we still hold funerals? We already understand decomposition. We understand disease. We understand the brain. We understand that death stops biological function. Yet knowledge has not eliminated ritual. Modern humans still gather. We still dress differently. We still speak about the dead. We still preserve photographs. We still keep belongings. We still visit graves. We still tell stories. The technology changed. The emotional problem did not. A funeral creates a boundary. Before this moment, the person was alive. After this moment, they are remembered. That boundary is psychologically powerful. It gives grief somewhere to go. It gives communities a shared moment. It gives memory a physical shape. And it gives survivors permission to stop. For a moment, nobody has to continue normally. Everyone can acknowledge the loss. Then life resumes. Food gets prepared. Children return home. Work begins again. The group continues. But something has changed. Someone is missing from the circle. And the funeral makes that absence visible. Perhaps that is the deepest purpose. Funerals do not change the dead. They change the living. They help survivors reorganize a world that suddenly feels incomplete. They transform a biological event into a social event. They transform an absence into a memory. They transform grief into something shared.